Hi, I'm Wisu. We're continuing our discussion about language and music. Today, you are a musical field linguist. That means your job is to document unknown musical languages and figure out how they work. Your boss drops you off in Japan and orders you to investigate the language of anime music. How do you go about doing this? Well, you go talk to the locals and they share a song with you. You're trained in music theory, so you know how to analyze music. You analyze this song and find this chord progression 6, 7, 1. You talk to more people and they give you another song. Wow, this song has the same progression. So maybe this is a common pattern. You then come across more songs that contain this progression, but as part of longer phrases, such as this one. But you also come across songs like this one. The progression is very similar, but the one chord at the end was replaced with a 3 chord. Maybe this is an exception, or maybe not. So you keep exploring and you come across this song. It's also similar, but this progression seems to have skipped the first 7 chord completely. As the good musical field linguist you are, you make sure to keep track of all these songs and you also note these 2 problem cases in your notebook. You need more examples before you can come up with a good characterization of this language, so you keep exploring. You decide to focus on the first problem of chord replacement. Based on your knowledge of music theory, you know that 6-7-1 in a minor key can also be analyzed as 4-5-6 in the relative major. This is a deceptive cadence, which we saw in a previous video. So 4-5-6 and 6-7-1 are actually not anything new. You feel a little disheartened until you come across this song. There's a 4-5-6, but 2-3-6 seems quite unusual. Though if you shift it up a third, it's just 4-5-1, which is an authentic cadence that you've seen many times. Then you find another song. This progression is similar, but has a couple of substitutions. It seems like 1 and 6 play the same role as the last chord of the phrase, while 3 and 5 play the same role as the second to last chord. And we saw in some earlier songs that 1 and 3 might also be replacements. So based on what we've seen, there seem to be 3 groups of chords. Chords that end a phrase, 1, 3, and 6. Chords that come before the chords that end the phrase, 3 and 5. And chords that come before these chords, 2, 4, and 6. Let's put them into the second column because they occur before 3 and 5. This seems decent, so you decide to give these columns some names. TSD. This seems decent. You return to your boss and present this table to him. He looks at it and says, "Why is there a missing entry?" So you think to yourself, and you find that if you list all the chords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the only chord you're missing is the 7 chord. So you suspect maybe the 7 chord is the missing one from the table. So you go and analyze more songs, trying to find songs with a 7 chord. If you choose a chord from each column in the table, then it seems like the 7 chord fills the missing space in our table. Let's see if there are more songs like this. The pattern seems to hold, so your table is now complete. To use this table, you start with a T chord, then an S chord, then a D chord, then another T chord. However, earlier, we saw many songs using a 1-7-6-7-1 progression, so maybe the S column is optional. If so, then 1-7-6-7-1 is just TD-TD-T. Let's see if there are more songs where we can skip the S column. This progression goes TDT. How about this one? This song goes TDTDT. So your procedure seems to work. Just pick chords from each column in order, but the S column is optional. Now you come across this song. This seems to be TSSD. Does this mean that we can pick more than one chord from the same column? Let's find another song. This also repeats a column, so it seems like repetition is acceptable. You write up your discoveries about how anime music works, and you return to your boss. He looks at your report and tells you something surprising. A man named Hugo Riemann came up with this exact theory over 100 years ago. He called it functional harmony, and he used it to explain which chords can come after each other. He described three functions: tonic, subdominant, and dominant function, and he found that most music follows the order T-S-D-T, where the S was optional. The only difference is, he was looking at classical music, because anime music didn't exist back then. So why does Riemann's theory of functional harmony work for both classical music of the 1700s as well as anime music of today? Well, these two styles of music are actually connected. Japanese pop music was heavily influenced by Western pop and rock music starting from the 1960s, and pop and rock music mainly uses chords that were very common in classical music. If you had lived 100 years ago, you could have been a world-famous music theorist. But today, you got to stand in the shoes of both a music theorist and a linguist. Though it may not seem like you were doing linguistics, you actually were. You compared similar songs with slight differences in order to figure out the rules of a language, the language of anime music. This process of discovery is really what makes music, as well as language, so fun and rewarding. I hope you enjoyed this brief excursion into the world of language. If you like languages, let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe if you found this video interesting. See you next time.